Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. And if you've been watching my videos for any period of time, you may have heard me talk about the mythical cash cow syndrome at one point or another. This is the idea that game publishers are chasing the next big live service game, the next Fortnite and Warzone, if you will, but the chances of them actually succeeding are low at best. It's risky to say the least, and now thanks to an interview by Xbox Expansion Pass, a developer is echoing that same sentiment as they talked about single-player versus live service games. This is very interesting stuff, so we will get into all of that today, as well as a big update from Xbox and PC Game Pass. This is a big partnership that's really going to benefit everybody, and it's also a major blow to the FTC and really whatever's left of their case against the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Before we get started, though, do hit that subscribe and ring that bell. That way, every time I post a new video, which is every Monday through Friday, it'll be delivered directly to your device. It's a great way to stay up to date with your daily gaming news, so don't forget to hit those buttons. But with that said, let's just go and jump right into the video, starting off with the Analogue Pocket. I do want this to be the first topic of the day. That way you can properly prepare if you didn't already know. They did announce that they're expanding the Analogue Pocket line to include various new colors. I mean, you have blue, you have red, green, yellow, white, pink, and even indigo, which almost kind of resembles the old GameCube. That's a pretty cool throwback, and I mean, really just the entire lineup is. This is a spiritual successor to the Game Boy using FPGA, so, you know, what better way to honor that heritage than really by going full Nintendo with various colors to choose from. And I do have to say, I do own an Analogue Pocket myself, and in my opinion, it is the absolute best way to play Game Boy games. Its screen is flat out amazing. You have to see one of these for yourself. I do recommend watching reviews, and it doesn't stop there either, because it can also play Game Boy Advance games. It can play NES, Super Nintendo, and even some Sega games such as the Game Gear. So this is a premium retro platform, or a premium Game Boy built for a modern audience. So if you do want one of these, all of these new colors will go live tomorrow on November 17th at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for $250. They also said that it'll ship on November 20th, which is pretty nice to see. There's not going to be some long wait or anything like that. However, they did say that this will be highly limited. So if you do want one, you might want to set your alarm. I think that that's really the only issue I have with Analogue as a company. They do make great products. They're very premium and high quality, but their ordering process, that's where they could use some work. From my personal experience, it's not necessarily fun ordering from them, and yeah, they tend to have major scalping issues. Next up, we got an update from Larian Studios, just as they promised earlier this week. They, in fact, have now announced that Baldur's Gate 3 will get a physical edition. It will run you $80, which might seem a little high at first, but, I mean, as you can see here, they are going the extra mile for this release. It includes a ton of extras, such as a deluxe edition box, a poster, a soundtrack, a world map, 32 stickers, and also 2 patches. Now, the PS5 version will come on 2 discs, whereas the Xbox version will come with 3. And then as for the PC, it'll get a special PC launcher, as a lot of people in PC don't even really have a physical drive at all. So when you think about it, you're getting all of that for just an extra $10. That's really not a bad deal at all, but for the time being, they're only selling this on their website, and that's where the price will increase. Its shipping and handling is quite high. It was $21 extra for me when I had it in my cart, so I am hoping that they'll send these to other retailers as well to maybe bring that price down a little bit. That shipping and handling, it does make this a little bit less enticing, but if you really want to own Baldur's Gate 3, well, you can absolutely do that now. And this is a great game to own because it's going to go down in history as one of the greatest RPGs ever made. Now, you might also be wondering how rare these are going to be, and they said that they're not a limited item. We'll see how all that works out, but I will drop a link in the description below if you want to check it out yourself. Now, we also got an update for Killer Instinct. Of course, they previously announced that Iron Galaxy is returning to the series, which that alone is a pretty big deal, and it's getting some type of update later this year. We still don't know exactly when that update will be out or what exactly they're doing, but Iron Galaxy is preparing to lift the lid next week on November 22nd. That is on the 10-year anniversary for the Killer Instinct reboot. It did release back in 2013, which is that's kind of hard to believe. It's been that long. It doesn't really feel like it's been that long. Time flies. I actually used to play KI a ton. It is one of my favorite games ever made. But they are preparing to share some news on its upcoming update via a developer stream. And there's a lot that they could potentially do here. Now, I mean, all this could just be a simple upgrade in visuals and nothing more. We can't necessarily rule that out. But if they want to, they could add more content to KI. This could be a complete new season. I mean, they've already done a few crossover characters in the past, such as Rash from Battletoads, you have Arbiter from Halo, and Ram from Gears of War, but Xbox, they now own a ton of studios, including Activision Blizzard. So if they wanted to, they really could go wild with more additions, similar to how Nintendo treats the Smash Brothers series. This could be Xbox's Smash, but as a 2D fighter. I mean, we'll see, but either way, I'm really glad to see KI back. You all have no idea how much I love this game, and I'm going to be curious to see what they reveal next week, again on November 22nd. Speaking of Xbox, though, they just announced a big partnership with NVIDIA that's really a win-win situation for both of them as well as their customers. This was posted up by The Verge, and they said NVIDIA is rolling out a new update for GeForce Now that allows members to sync their Xbox accounts to the cloud gaming service. Syncing up an Xbox account will allow GeForce Now members to access any PC Game Pass title on NVIDIA service alongside their existing library of game purchases from the Microsoft Store. This is actually a pretty big inclusion. NVIDIA GeForce Now is one of the most recognized cloud game streaming services, and as of 2022, they surpassed 20 million registered users, and that's because their continued investment. NVIDIA GeForce Now, as of today, is arguably the best game streaming service that you can get, and that's one of the things here. Xbox, they always like to talk about ecosystem. They don't just focus on Xbox consoles alone. They really want to put Game Pass on as many devices as they can, and that includes cloud game streaming. So why not partner up with one of the most successful and promising cloud-based services out there? That's pretty much what they're doing here. So this gives Xbox a chance to sell more Game Pass subscriptions, while NVIDIA, they get a ton more games for their service, and not just from PC Game Pass, but also for every PC game that you purchase from the Microsoft Store. So this really is a win-win scenario for both of them, including fans alike, though I will say that it's also a major loss for the FTC against the Activision Blizzard acquisition. I mean, honestly, I don't really know what they had left to argue by this point. Their argument has always been kind of absurd, but it only gets worse by the day. You know, the first time they battled it out in court, the cloud was one of their leading arguments, and truthfully, it's the only one that seemed to even slightly catch the attention by the judge. But pretty much since then, Microsoft has made that case absolutely moot. They already sold the cloud gaming streaming rights for Activision's games to Ubisoft, to now on top of that, now all PC Game Pass games are available on NVIDIA GeForce Now. So Xbox has essentially shut down, completely destroyed the entire cloud-based argument that the FTC hypothetically could bring to court. I mean, I really don't understand what else the FTC can throw at the wall, because that's pretty much what they're doing. They're throwing anything that they can at the wall that they can in the hopes that something will stick. But I just don't know what else that they can argue here. It honestly looks like the FTC is just wasting everybody's time and money. No surprise there. I've been calling this for a long time. But, I guess that's where we are in the world. The FTC would much prefer to fight for an ideology than actually base anything off of logic or facts. Whatever, I guess. But, I think Xbox has cornered them pretty good by this point. Okay, so let's go and move on over to the next story, though. And over the last few years, we have heard a lot about live service games. Seems like almost every publisher is pushing for the next big live service title. We've seen Ubisoft try and fail. We saw Sega try and fail. And now even Sony. They are pushing big into live service games. Now, to be fair, the jury's still out on them. We'll see if they can have success in the long run. But despite this big push that we're seeing really across the entire industry, the Immortals of Avium director spoke out against this trend in an interview with Xbox Expansion Pass. By the way, do go check his full video out. He did a phenomenal job on his interview. I'll drop a link below. Maybe give him a subscribe. But check out what the creative director said about the live service trend. So he claimed that live service games are more risky than single-player games and went on to say, multiplayer. You have people who are passionate about one or two games and they put hundreds of hours into those games. And trying to pull them away from that experience is really challenging. As opposed to if you're just telling a good story, everybody likes a good story, that's a more attractive offering. It's less investment. You don't have to wait for content to roll in over months. You just get to buy the game and play it. I mean, as a fan, that is perfectly said. I could not have said this better myself. See, the thing is, the live service market is already pretty well established. Yeah, there's a big community that are playing these type of games, but they don't really move game to game like we see with fans of single-player titles. So if you're making a live service game, you really have to stand out from the competition to find success. That's why I think unique live service games have a better chance. Games like Sea of Thieves, Rocket League, Fall Guys, and even Rainbow Six Siege. They have their own fan bases because nothing else plays quite like them. But what we so often see is that a studio comes out and they want to make that next popular shooter. Well, good luck competing with Call of Duty, Fortnite, and Apex Legends. Another thing is that they're not just trying to siphon individual players, but what these games need to do is that they need to convince entire groups of friends to play their games instead of the competitions. You know, a lot of people who play these live service games are a part of a group, and that makes it even more difficult to get these players to migrate over to another game. I think one other interesting thing that he pointed out, though, is that live service games tends to be more of an investment, whereas single-player games, they feel more complete day one. I mean, let's take Diablo as an example. I mean, yeah, Diablo 4 is very successful. That's not really my point, but it is a time investment. And what I mean by that is that it's going to feel more complete next year when it gets its second expansion as opposed to right now. That was one of the complaints that reviewers had. It didn't feel quite complete because by design, it's not complete. It is a live service title, whereas a single-player game like, let's say, Spider-Man 2, it's pretty much complete day one. So you can just kind of buy it and play it right away, whereas live service, you know, that's going to take maybe years to go through. It all just kind of depends. Or we can take a look at something like Halo Infinite as an example. When that game first launched, people loved Halo Infinite. It won Player's Choice Award that year, and you know, it just feels like a great game to play. Halo Infinite's problem has never been in regards to quality. It has always been good. But where 343 stumbled is that they didn't have the content planned to keep players invested for a long period of time. So a lot of those players left Halo and they went back to the games that they were originally playing before its release. Now, 343 is doing much better now and players are slowly coming back, but if they would have had consistent updates, it's possible that its player count may have never dropped the way it did. So it's important to keep in mind that it is difficult to keep players engaged for a long period of time, and that's how live service games make their money. Single-player games, they get their money up front, whereas live service, they have to entice players to purchase extra content over an extended period of time. So a live service game can have a successful launch and still fail in the long run if you can't keep up with player demand. I mean, again, you're competing with all these other established games that can offer that consistent new content. So I do fully agree with him here. Single-player games are less risky, and that's something that other publishers might want to take note of. In fact, I think the proof is already here. There's a reason that we keep seeing live service games be canceled. There's a reason that Ubisoft has canceled numerous live service projects. The same can be said for Sega and really even Sony to a degree. They've already canceled a few themselves, and it was just announced that they've also delayed 6 others. So at the bare minimum, they've discovered that these games are, in fact, hard to make. think. Let me know what you all think about this, though. Do you agree with him here? Do you think that single-player games are less risky or not? Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, have you played the original Super Mario RPG? I've had my suspicions that most of us haven't, and yeah, that very much is the case based on these results. The majority, in fact, voted no. So hey, as I keep saying, this is why I enjoy remakes. It gives fans yet another opportunity to play these beloved games that they may have previously missed out on. Even for somebody like myself, I've never really played Super Mario RPG despite growing up in the 90s. So I'm really looking forward to playing it fully for the first time. I do love the classic Paper Mario games and even the Mario Luigi franchise. So it seems like, yeah, I'll probably really like this game as well. It'll probably be right up my alley. And hopefully some of you are looking forward to playing this game as well, which it will be available tomorrow on November 17th. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you like the video, don't forget to bell the notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.